next 5 years. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
So CJ, when he approaches you on July 27th, what's your, see that smile, what's your reaction to him?
No, I was excited. I knew the date. Well, I didn't know it at first, and then Sam told me the date, and it just so happened to coincide with my kids' camp. We usually plan, 6 months to a year out for my camp, which started on Tuesday this year. So I just plan to come out on Friday like I normally do, about a few days before the camp starts. And I was excited about the opportunity to be able to extend my time here. Obviously, it's been a nice ride. It's been fun. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Jody as well, for having faith and believing in me. If I didn't thank the late Mr. Allen for his vision, building a culture, building a winning program, and believing in me, and obviously thanking Neil for risking his life back in college and driving through that snowstorm and watching me play before I end up breaking my foot. And we always joke about it, but it's crazy how life has kind of transpired from re-breaking my foot my rookie year to now.
CJ, you mentioned the culture, your role in the culture as sort of a guardian of the culture. You feel that? You feel like you're one of the people responsible for maintaining that culture?
I think it's collective. Obviously, I've been here, 6 years going to 7 years, and I like to say that, even though I didn't impact as much my first couple of years, I've never not played in the playoffs. So I think that's a cool thing to kind of experience, and there's a lot of guys that don't get to play in the playoffs. But just seeing how we've evolved from my rookie year to now, seeing how Dame's evolved, seeing how the staff has kind of changed and what we've been able to accomplish, I think it's a testament to our front office, obviously our ownership and how they, court certain players. A certain type of player fits in here, and I think that we've done a good job of implementing those guys. And obviously, 7, 8 new guys coming in, there's a reason why they're coming in, and I think they'll fit really well.
CJ, with so many players around the league bouncing around right now, why not wait this out and test free agency? Maybe you could have made more money, maybe, you know what I mean? Why not join that crew?
No, I think that's a good question. I think, looking at how I was raised, growing up in Canton, Ohio, the path I took going to Lehigh University, I didn't go to Kentucky. I didn't go to a Duke. I went to a place that was right for me, and a place that I grew to love, and a place that grew to love me. And I think the same thing goes for Portland. They gave me a chance. Coming out of college, they love me. The city loves me. I love the organization. I love the city, and I think that it was the right fit for me. Exploring the market and doing those types of things. I don't think it was necessary for me and my lifestyle and the type of career I wanted to have. And I feel like, being able to lock in a long-term deal shows a mutual commitment, a mutual agreement to where I'm happy, they're happy, and we want to continue to build on what we've done. And I think that, based on what I've been able to accomplish and what I think we can accomplish in the future, it's a great decision.
Neil, you talked about thanking Jody, and I'm sure she's anticipating this season. It's hard not to think about what Paul would be thinking after this summer. What do you think some of his thoughts and feelings would be?
Paul had such a sense of history for our process to a certain degree. He never forgot a guy that we liked on our draft board, guys that we pursued in free agency. He was always a part of that process. He was a part of major pitches that we had in the past. So, I think this summer would have been especially intriguing to him because there are so many guys, locking up 2 of our greatest draft picks with Dame and CJ, guys that have grown organically here, on top of bringing guys in that we had chased as free agents. And, the timing just didn't work out the last time, but to have them now be on our roster at a time where we're coming off our most successful postseason run, as an organization in the last 20 years, I think he really would have embraced that. And, Paul was a big name awareness guy. He always got excited about, guys that he could point to, previous accomplishments, whether it was, for us or for other places. Because he really wasn't a fan of the NBA, and he liked the history of the league, and he watched games, and he watched draft footage, and when we would go after free agents, he would watch tape on those guys and do research and do background stuff. And so I think this summer would be especially exciting for him because there's such a sense of history with the guys, Kent Bazemore and Hassan, Mario, who we had pursued, and then having a future Hall of Famer join us as the last roster spot in Pau. It's reminiscent of some of the things they had done in the past. You guys, Dwight was here for it. Adding a Scottie Pippen later in his career or a Rod Strickland and, guys like that are legends in this league that it really excited Paul that they would wear a Trail Blazer uniform. It really it just inspired him, you know, and there would have been this cross section this year of the youth with guys like Anthony and Nasir and Gary and Zach, along with, you know, future Hall of Famers like Powell, and then, you know, the two cornerstones of our franchise with Dame and CJ signing on long term. So this would have been, I don't know if he would have had the patience to wait until the third week of July to sign Powell for the last spot, or till July 27th to, you know, to extend CJ. You know, he would have been wondering why, you know, at that same barbecue on July 1st or June 30th, I wasn't doing all of it at once. But he would have enjoyed it, and he would have been excited about the season.
Hey, CJ, you know, what do you feel like is the next step for you guys, the group, you know, the roster now with the additions? What's your, kind of your mindset going into this next season?
I think Dame and I talked about it, you know, even during the playoffs last year. We had kind of set our eyes on, you know, making it to the Western Conference Finals and being able to kind of extend our legacy. And I think the next step for us is understanding how we got there and understanding why we lost. And it all starts with us, figuring out ways to get better, figuring out ways to help our team, you know, put the best product out there, and looking at how deep the West is now with Utah, all those teams getting better. The point of emphasis and the sense of urgency needs to start earlier because you can't afford to drop games. So I think the next step for us is obviously to try to get to the finals and try to win a championship. Looking at, you know, what we've been able to do this summer, obviously each year we've all improved individually and been able to bring it together collectively. I think that every year I've played in the NBA, anything short of a championship is a failed season because, you know, there's 29 teams that are losing and going home and trying to figure out how to get better.
CJ, all the new players, how long do you expect it will take this group to sort of shake down and figure out how you want to play and all the things you need to do before you play a season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll take some time, but based on the type of players that we're bringing in, they understand their role and they'll understand how they fit in on this team. And I think the way we play offensively and defensively, smart basketball players are able to pick up on that. And I think we have a bunch of heady guys who will understand, you know, how to come in and run some of the sets we run, how to free flow in the offense, how to get to the help side. And, you know, when you bring in a shot blocker, as Neil joked, you know, you can give them invitations to lay up sometimes and know that you got help back there. But more so, starting in September, obviously you got preseason. We start, I think, October 8th against the Nuggets at home, or at the place that we used to play at. That's when it'll really start, you know, game-like action, being able to figure out rotations, and then Terry being able to figure out, you know, who he likes to play in certain situations. And the biggest thing is to try to peak towards April. And if we can do those things and stay healthy, I like our chances.
CJ, obviously this deal will potentially keep you here for another 5 years alongside Dame. He's talked a lot about his legacy here. Do you think about that in what your legacy might be, being here so long?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, that's been a point of emphasis, you know, throughout my life, not just in basketball, but legacy in general with my last name and what I want to leave behind to the next generation and how I want to be remembered. And I think it stems, you know, beyond basketball, being able to do stuff in the community, being able to help empower kids that, you know, grew up in similar situations as me, and allow them to understand that you can make it, you know, outside of your sport, but you also can make it in your sport and impact your communities, you know, obviously do well within your sport. But I think based on what we've been able to accomplish going into year 7, obviously, you know, 5 more years, there's a lot I can do on the court. There's a lot I plan on doing, and I think that we'll have a great legacy together and individually.
CJ, you weren't always the biggest guy on the floor growing up as a basketball player. In fact, you were probably often the smallest guy on the floor. Is it fair? Did you ever visualize a moment like this in your life growing up?
No, I envisioned playing the NBA. I didn't know how good I would be or to what extent it would last, but I always believed I could make it. I always believed that I would be in a position to provide for my family and inspire others. So I seen that vision. Did I see a quarter? A quarter? No, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't see it, but I think based on what I've been able to accomplish from a work ethic standpoint, from a time and sacrifice standpoint, I'm not surprised at what I've been able to do. But looking back, no, I thought I would make the NBA. I didn't know how I would make it or how long I would last, but I knew it was possible because I seen it done from Keith McLeod, from Costa, and I seen what it took for my brother to make it to Europe, and I knew I had to do a little bit more to get here.
With the continuity that you and Dame have had and will have just playing together for so long, do you start to look at how you rank in the record books or how you match up, you know, best backcourt and franchise history, stuff like that?
I don't think about it until you bring it up. And then I start to look, and then I start to see, obviously I've watched and I've seen a lot of old Blazer footage and the type of impact, the greats that came before us have had. Obviously, Terry and Clyde have tremendous careers and were able to, 3, 4 conference finals appearances. I think they made it to the finals twice. So I think the bar is just, win a championship. And if you can get a couple, get a couple. If you can get a few, get a few. And I think that's how you're remembered. Obviously, points and three-pointers and percentages is great, but, there's a reason why, most of the players from that 77 roster, their jerseys hang in the banners because of what they were able to accomplish, as a whole. So if we can do that, I think that'll be enough for us to, look back and say, we did everything we could to win a championship, and we did that.
CJ, Dame has talked about Zach and Ant having big summers, and he expects a lot of them next season. What do you think their season can become next year?
I think it can become whatever they want it to become, honestly. They're going to be given ample opportunities, throughout the year. I think they both show flashes of brilliance. Obviously, one's a little bit younger than the other, but based on, Zach's progressions, obviously, defensively, he's light years ahead of most players in the league, regardless of age, and offensively, he's versatile and skilled, and I think it'll start to come together for him. And Anthony's going to get a lot of opportunities to play with Seth leaving, and I think based on his progressions, his work ethic, his unique ability to do a lot of things. He can shoot. He's explosive. He's athletic. He likes to learn. I think they're both going to help us. I don't know how much. I don't know, obviously, how the season's going to go. There's a lot of things that kind of factor into that, but they definitely have bright futures, and we're going to need both of them.
Neil, what does having the continuity of your two guards mean for this organization? Is there a way to sum up what that does for you guys?
I think you brought it up. In a summer where you see a lot of tandems have been created around the league, and in certain instances, guys leaving small markets for bigger markets, whether it's by trade or free agency, it presents challenges. And to have two guys, like Dame and CJ, be willing to sign on, in a small market, guys that clearly could have played their contracts out and had opportunities anywhere in the league. Teams have been lining up for him in the summer of 2021, or, the same thing for Damian. That they were willing to commit to each other in the organization and the city is huge. And I think it sends a message, hopefully, that, when you draft players and develop players where their priority is basketball and their careers, you have the opportunity to create an environment that they want to stay in. There are certain things that none of us have the luxury of changing, about our marketplaces. And like I said, if superficiality is something that a player values over the basketball, then they're probably not right to be in our organization. And we've trended, he talked before about, first under Paul's leadership, now Jody's. The decisions we make are players that are going to value what we do here, how we do it, what they mean to the city of Portland, how they're embraced by that city. And like I said, I think what you see with our two most successful players being in Dame and CJ are, from day one, these are guys that valued basketball over everything else. They valued culture, they valued winning, they valued continuity, they valued success. And that was what their guiding force was in making decisions short and long term. So having two guys like this in an era where player movement has become the norm, and I think we've almost become desensitized to it, and I think at some point there's going to be a backlash about it, and there is going to be frustration. And I think for us, this makes a great statement about what kind of people these guys are, not just basketball players. The basketball stuff's easy. You can quantify that, you can put a salary on production, but the kind of people that they are and what their value system is so consistent with this city and the kind of organization we want to have. It made it really a seamless transition. And I think when you go back historically, I've always talked about this, there is a benefit to having your two best players not be Kentucky, Duke, Carolina. That these guys are from Weber State and Lehigh. They had to earn it. They didn't have people beating down their doors and with bags of cash when they were sophomores in high school. They went to college to go to college on scholarships, and that was admirable, and that was an accomplishment. And then they blew up, and they were 4-year guys in college. And there were question marks about both before the draft. And everything that they just keep answering at every step of the way. There has never been a challenge or an obstacle they haven't overcome. It wasn't that long ago, Joe, we were sitting here and everybody was questioning whether a backcourt of Dame and CJ was sustainable. And then the following year we're in the Western Conference Finals. And, and whether or not we could keep players in Portland, and they both signed long-term deals within weeks of one another. So I really think the message that it sends goes beyond basketball, and I think we have to thank them for the people they are, how they were raised, and what their value system is. And they've prioritized what we prioritize here. And putting that together, that confluence of events, and that consistency in kind of our vision and our values is why we're able to kind of reach these mutual agreements so seamlessly.
CJ, a few years ago, you guys went on like a San Diego team bonding trip. Do you foresee something like that happening now with all the new guys? Or?
Probably. I'm gonna call Dame later today. I think he's in Phoenix right now. My schedule is pretty clear besides a few Browns games and vacation with my fiance. So September is usually where I start two-a-days and stuff like that. So I'm gonna talk to him, see what he wants to do, what he thinks. I talked to Rick today. Shout out to my guy Rick. He thinks that we should go to San Diego or something like that. So we'll figure out everybody's schedule, see when Nurk's getting back from Croatia, and then kind of go from there. But I think it could be very beneficial just because this is the first time in a while that we've had half the roster, change. So being able to kind of get more acclimated with everybody could be beneficial.
Hey CJ, I'm curious about something. You told us before that even as a well-paid athlete, you live on a budget and try to be smart with your money. I'm curious, where did you learn that, and how have you been able to kind of avoid some of the money issues? I mean, we hear about retired athletes, like Adrian Pearson the other day, he's broke. I mean, how have you avoided some of that?
I think it's just how I was raised, understanding the value of a dollar. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you need to do extravagant things all the time. I think you live within moderation, you live within reason. You take good care of yourself, you do things that you like, do things that you enjoy, you take care of those who you need to take care of, but understanding that you need to save a certain amount of your money. Started with my mom and my dad, being very fiscally responsible. My mom was a tax auditor for 16 years, so she understands numbers really well. Probably better than most people in this world because of her ability to manipulate numbers and understand how to work a budget from a young age, on how to balance two kids, how to get to work on time, how to make sure we were doing our homework and all those things. And I think hiring the right people is a big problem that we face as athletes. You get talked into hiring people that you really don't know or don't know about from a career standpoint, and they end up taking care of your money. And a lot of times it's the wrong people, or you hire friends and family who have no idea how to budget millions of dollars and you end up spending too much. So I think my financial advisor's done a great job of teaching me the importance of money. He's made me a lot of money these last few years to where my budget is set as if I was never going to get paid again after 2 years ago, and that's how I've lived. And obviously I'll make some small adjustments. But I think it's just, I've always been fiscally responsible, and my brother has always, kind of taught me the importance of it. And I think growing up in Canton, Ohio, you just, you see 70,000 people, you have 2 or 3 NBA players, and you don't want to be the guy that goes broke, and it kind of haunts you. And I think it took me a few years to fly first class. Like I flew to Greece, economy, and it was the last time I flew. I was like, all right, this is it. I had talked to Giannis about it, and Giannis was flying the Greece economy too, and I was like, bro, we gotta stop. Like, we gotta first class. And I think that's kind of how it's progressed to where I take great care of myself. I buy nice suits, but I'm also smart about how I live.
When was that, when you last flew economy?
Well, actually, I flew economy when the season ended because there was no seats left, and I was in a hurry to get out of here. And I flew exit row, and I tweeted about how there's a misunderstanding. I tried to use the first class bathroom, and the guy stood in front of the door, and he was like, "Sir, this is for first class passengers only." And the line at the back of the plane was crazy. I waited about 15 minutes, and I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore because I almost peed myself. And that was the last time I flew economy.
CJ, Neil talked a lot about like the personality and being a good person off the court. And you just wrapped up like your camp this weekend, had a media availability yesterday, and a lot of those kids are there at that camp every single year. So now that you're locked in, you're going to be here even longer. What does it mean that you get to continue to build that community off the court?
No, I think that's important. That's something that I've always pinpointed as a kid. Looking at how I went to Eric Snow's camp when I was a kid, and being able to bring back players is something I want to do in the future. Guys I'm friends with from other teams. I remember when Allen Iverson came to East Nose Camp, and AI was my favorite player. So being able to do stuff like that, I think it impacts the kids, and obviously the Dream Centers, the Press Pass, all those things are great ways to show young leaders, what it's like to do certain career fields they may not normally be able to see. So I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we have in the works, and we'll continue to build on it. I'm be getting married and starting a family, so that's a lot of stuff that I look forward to doing here in Portland.
When's the wedding?
September 5, 2020. Yeah.
2020.
2020. 2020, yeah. My fiance couldn't be here. She's very upset that she couldn't make it, so it's all right, baby. Handle your business.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll wrap it up there.
Everybody, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Let me know if you need a PR guy.